Welcome to Health Freedom Radio with Jessica Steele and Jordan Fisher. Whole health conversations to elevate your life, your health, your wealth, and your legacy. Learn with us, then share with others.
Imagine for a second that you are standing in a massive, just beautifully decorated hotel ballroom.
Oh, we've all been there.
Right. I mean, the chandeliers are glowing. The centerpieces are absolutely perfect. You've got like a jazz band playing in the corner.
And everyone is dressed to the nines.
Exactly. And there's this massive thermometer on the wall, and it is filled all the way to the top in bright red marker.
The best feeling in the world.
It is. The crowd is cheering. You know, you've just thrown the annual fundraising gala for your local community organization. And the gross revenue, $100,000.
Which sounds incredible.
Right. You feel like an absolute hero. But then, you know, the guests go home, the lights come up, and you sit down with the treasurer.
And that's when reality hits.
Yeah. You pull out the actual spreadsheets. You have to subtract, what, $50,000 for the venue, the catering, the band.
Easily $50,000.
And then you factor in the sheer exhaustion. I mean, the $27,000 worth of volunteer hours spent in endless committee meetings, negotiating with vendors, you know, losing sleep.
Just burning the candle at both ends.
Exactly. And when the dust finally settles, your mission actually netted $23,000.
Which is just heartbreaking.
It really is. You just spent 4 months of your life and, frankly, exhausted your entire community to run a massive operation at a 75% loss.
Yeah. And today on the deep dive, we're looking at why that traditional fundraising model is just structurally broken.
And more importantly, how to permanently fix it.
Because it's a brutal reality check, you know, and it happens in school cafeterias, church basements, community centers, literally every single day.
Yeah.
The people running these fundraisers are incredibly dedicated, but they are trapped in a system that is fundamentally burning them out.
They are. And that is exactly who we're speaking to today. I mean, if you are listening to this right now, we consider you a colleague, whether you're a community leader, a professional fundraiser, an entrepreneur, a coach, a pastor, or just a serious contributor to a cause you love. This deep dive is entirely for you.
We're really looking at 4 overlapping audiences today.
Right. So first we have organizations, booster clubs, churches, schools, charities, nonprofits that are just desperately seeking better alternatives.
Because the old ways aren't working.
Exactly. Second, professional fundraisers and development leaders who are looking for like a next generation tool for their toolbox.
Yeah, they need something new.
Third, and this is a big one, teachable, coachable entrepreneurs who want to serve the world while creating meaningful income.
Which is such an important group.
It is. And fourth, you know, global leaders and innovators worldwide wanting to adapt these methods within their own communities.
I mean, it's a diverse group, right? But the shared pain point is absolutely identical. Everyone is trying to build something sustainable in a landscape that seems to actively resist sustainability.
Right. And to build that sustainable future, we are pulling from a really fascinating authoritative resource today.
It's a game changer.
It really is. It's called The Science and Business of Fundraising, the Web3 Fundraising Compendium for Building Recurring Mission Cash Flow.
That's by web3fundraising.com, right?
Yes, exactly. And I want to clearly acknowledge right at the top that this program was prepared at the direction of Dr. Tia Jolie Phillips.
Who is just brilliant.
Oh, completely. She's a world entrepreneur with over 50 years of business building experience, and the compendium also features really fantastic contributions from Dan Phillips.
Yeah, their work here is incredibly thorough.
And the goal here, I mean, our promise to you by the end of this deep dive is that you are going to learn how to move away from those exhausting, burnout-inducing campaign cycles.
And step into something called recurring mission cash flow.
Yes. But we should probably put an important caveat out there right now, especially for the entrepreneurs listening.
Oh, absolutely. This is crucial. If you are an entrepreneur listening, you do not need to own a nonprofit or currently work in professional fundraising to apply this.
Wait, really? So you don't even need to be in the nonprofit space?
Not at all. The Web3 fundraising system can actually teach and equip you to help organizations in your community while building a legitimate business of your own.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you just need to be, you know, a serious collaborator willing to learn and grow with the mission.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because I want to go back to that exhausted PTA president in the empty ballroom.
Standing there with a broom.
Right, just sweeping up the confetti. Why does this feel so incredibly difficult right now? I mean, it really feels like we are all working twice as hard to raise half as much money.
Well, the most important thing for anyone listening to internalize right now is this. If you feel that way, it is not your fault.
It's not. Because it always feels like a personal failure when a fundraiser flops.
I know, but it isn't. It is not a failure of effort, and it is definitely not a lack of community care. It is a structural failure.
A structural failure.
Yes. The underlying model of fundraising simply hasn't updated to match the mechanics of the modern world. I mean, it is being crushed by two simultaneous massive pressures.
Okay, so what's the first pressure?
A staggering increase in competition. I mean, let's look at the data here. Since the year 2000, the number of tax-exempt organizations in the United States grew from 1.35 million to roughly 1.85 million.
Wait, really?
Yes, that is 500,000 more groups. You've got youth leagues, animal rescues, neighborhood associations, specialized ministries.
Wow.
And they are all competing for the exact same dollars in the exact same communities.
500,000 more. That's massive. But wait, let me push back on this slightly.
Go for it.
Is the problem just that there are more groups? Or is it that our attention is completely fractured? I mean, isn't it just that everyone is staring at their smartphones, endlessly scrolling?
Oh, absolutely.
It just feels like we're in a crowded room where everyone is shouting with a megaphone and nobody can hear the fundraising ask over the noise of global entertainment.
You're completely right about the attention scarcity, and that is a massive headwind. I mean, every local cause is now competing against billion-dollar algorithms in your pocket designed to capture your focus.
Right. Netflix, TikTok, you name it.
Exactly. But the second pressure makes that crowded room even more hostile. There is a severe structural financial squeeze happening at the exact same time.
Okay, how bad is the squeeze?
Well, U.S. charitable giving fell 10.5% in 2022 when adjusted for inflation.
Ouch. That's a huge drop.
It is. And behind that drop is a quiet mechanical shift in the tax code that most local organizations completely missed.
Oh, you're talking about the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, right?
Exactly. That act significantly raised the standard deduction.
Which sounds like a good thing for everyday people.
Right, for simplifying taxes, sure.
Yeah.
But look at the result for charities. The number of American households that actually itemize their deductions dropped from around 31% to about 8%.
Oh, that is staggering.
Yeah. So for a huge chunk of middle-income households, the financial tax-based incentive to give to a charity just vanished overnight.
It just completely evaporated.
Right. So you have a mechanical change in the tax code, you have household budgets tightening due to inflation, and 500,000 new causes exploding onto the scene.
So it's like a perfect storm.
It really is. But the fundraising methods, they stayed entirely static. We just kept sending the same frozen cookie dough order forms home in the backpacks.
Oh my gosh, the cookie dough.
Right. We kept hosting the exact same bake sales. The environment evolved completely, but our systems just didn't.
So practically speaking, what does this structural failure actually look like on the ground? Because I've been that parent.
I think we all have.
You know, you show up to the Booster Club meeting, and it's the exact same 5 people volunteering to run the car wash that ran it last year.
Yes. What you are describing right there is how the system artificially masks its own structural failure.
Wait, how is it masking it?
It survives by leaning on what sociologists and what Dr. Phillips calls the faithful few.
The faithful few.
Yeah. We often talk about the 80-20 rule in business, right?
Sure, 80% of the results come from 20% of the effort.
Exactly. But in local community organizations, it is more like the 90-10 rule. 90% of the financial heavy lifting and the actual volunteer labor is done by 10% of the people.
Right, because, I mean, if I need someone to manage the silent auction software, I'm just going to ask Sarah.
Always Sarah.
Because Sarah said yes last year. Sarah knows how to use the software. And I know she won't let the team down.
And it is entirely rational for the organizer to keep asking Sarah. I mean, it's the path of least resistance, but let's look at the psychology of what that does over time. It tightens this vicious loop. The same supporters absorb more and more responsibility with every single campaign cycle because the overall pool of willing participants is shrinking.
And that just sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It is. And this creates a profound, critical difference between donor fatigue and donor burnout.
See, I always thought those were essentially the exact same thing, just people getting tired of opening their wallets.
No, they are totally different psychological states. Donor fatigue is temporary. It's acute.
Okay.
It's when a supporter has received 4 emails this week about a capital campaign, and they just need a break. Like if you leave them alone for a month, their willingness to help actually replenishes.
So fatigue is fixable.
Exactly. But donor burnout is chronic. It is a fundamental shift in the relationship.
What does that look like?
A burned-out supporter might still love the school or the church deeply, but they withdraw because they have realized the fundraising system itself is purely extractive.
Wow. They feel like an endlessly renewable resource for the organization to mine,
Yeah.
rather than a human partner, like an ATM that never needs reloading.
Precisely. If you are listening right now and you are the treasurer quietly covering budget gaps out of your own pocket, or maybe you're the coach sending that increasingly desperate email begging for travel funds, you are experiencing this structural failure firsthand.
It's heavy.
It is. It's not that your community doesn't care. It's that the extractive mechanics of the system are breaking their capacity to help.
And what's wild is that the tool we use to try and fix this problem, the big dramatic fundraising campaign, is actually making the burnout worse.
It really is.
Let's dig into that, because I'll admit, there is a massive emotional high to a successful campaign. Like when you hit the goal and everyone cheers, it feels like this huge communal victory.
It does feel like a victory. And I mean, we should never dismiss the incredible heart and hard work that volunteers pour into those moments.
Absolutely not.
Campaigns do provide real relief. The problem isn't the effort. The problem is the timeline. The calendar keeps moving.
Right. The roof of the community center continues to age. The football team still has to travel next season. The need always outlasts the campaign.
Right. And Dr. Phillips calls this the campaign reset.
The campaign reset.
Yeah. Think about the psychology. You put in immense effort, you rally the troops, you hit the financial goal, the pressure lifts, everyone exhales.
We did it.
Exactly. And then next month or next quarter, you have to start again from absolute zero. The campaign created temporary financial relief, but it created zero ongoing structural infrastructure.
It's like bailing water out of a leaky boat with a bucket.
That's a great analogy.
You know, every time you throw a bucket of water overboard, you celebrate. Look, we moved water. But the hole is still there and the water is still coming in. And bailing water is exhausting.
And we rarely measure the cost of the bailing. I mean, going back to your gala example at the start of our deep dive.
Yeah.
When organizations plan these one-off campaigns, they almost exclusively focus on gross revenue. It's a vanity metric.
I made $100,000.
Exactly. But the reality check is the net revenue, specifically when you factor in human capital.
Let's do the math on that Bloomerang Gala example again, because I want to make sure I really understand this. If an event grosses $100,000, where exactly is it all going?
Well, half of it, $50,000, evaporates immediately into direct expenses.
Immediately.
Yes. Venue rentals, catering costs, liability insurance, software platform fees, auctioneer fees, the band. So you are instantly down to $50,000.
Okay, but $50,000 is still a really decent chunk of change for a local group.
It is until you account for the hidden cost of the faithful few.
Ah.
The compendium points out that we have to calculate the value of staff and volunteer time. In this specific Bloomerang case study, the time spent planning, running committee meetings, setting up, tearing down, and doing post-event accounting was valued at roughly $27,000.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because nobody ever puts that $27,000 on the spreadsheet.
Never.
We treat volunteer time as if it's free, but it isn't free, is it?
No, it has a massive opportunity cost. I mean, if a volunteer is spending 40 hours a month negotiating with a linen rental company for the gala, they are not spending those 40 hours mentoring kids or doing community outreach or just resting so they can continue to serve the mission long term.
Right. You burn their capacity on logistics instead of impact.
Exactly. So when you subtract the direct costs and the human costs, your $100,000 triumph netted $23,000 in actual mission value.
You essentially threw a massive party, completely exhausted your best volunteers, and kept 23 cents on the dollar.
That's the reality.
That is absolute madness when you look at the math. So if campaigns are just this treadmill of exhaustion, what is the alternative?
Well, the real goal of fundraising cannot be running better campaigns. The goal has to be building cash flow, dependable, recurring mission cash flow. Now, historically, the gold standard for achieving this, the way major universities and massive institutions do it, is the endowment.
Oh, the endowment.
Yeah.
The absolute dream. You get a billionaire to write a massive check. You put it in a fund, you let it sit still, and the interest pays for everything while the principal never gets touched.
That is the traditional model, yes. It divorces the organization's survival from the success of its next campaign. It is the ultimate form of stability.
Sounds perfect.
But we have to look at the math of an endowment to understand why it is a complete pipe dream for 99% of local organizations.
Okay, let's hear the math. Hit me with it.
Let's say a local church or a community theater or booster club just wants a modest $10,000 a month in recurring support to cover their baseline operations.
Nothing extravagant.
Right. Just $120,000 a year to keep the lights on and pay the core staff. If we assume a highly conservative 1% net return, which is realistic after you account for management fees, and a standard 3% inflation adjustment to make sure the fund doesn't lose its buying power over time, to generate that $10,000 a month, the organization would need a principal endowment of $12 million.
Wait, $12 million.
$12 million.
For a local community theater, I know groups that are having a literal panic attack trying to raise $1,200 for new stage curtain. $12 million is essentially telling them to go buy a lottery ticket. It's not a strategy.
It's not. This raises an important question. If a $12 million endowment is mathematically impossible for a local PTA or a veterans group, how do they get that stability? How do they get the effect of an endowment without needing the billionaire benefactor?
And this is where the compendium introduces this concept of legacy cash flow. And I absolutely love this idea.
It's brilliant.
It is the practical, achievable equivalent of a virtual endowment. It's dependable support that keeps moving toward the mission over time, but instead of being built on a massive pile of principal cash, it's built on recurring systems.
Right. It democratizes recurring mission cash flow. It redirects everyday commerce and ongoing support that is already happening in the community and points a portion of it toward the cause. But to do that, you have to upgrade your tools.
Okay, let's talk about those tools, because this is where I need to push back a little bit.
All right, let's hear it.
The system Dr. Phillips has designed is called Web3 Fundraising. Now, I have to be brutally honest. When I hear the term Web3, my brain immediately jumps to complicated blockchain technology, crypto wallets, decentralized finance, and things that would absolutely terrify my local church committee.
Oh, completely.
I can just see the treasurer's eyes glazing over and the PTA president walking out of the room. How is this not just going to alienate the volunteers?
That is a very valid concern, and it's exactly why the genius of this system lies in its implementation. Phase 1 of Web3 fundraising is intentionally designed to lead with benefits, not technology.
Okay, that's a relief.
We are absolutely not asking your PTA to learn cryptography or set up digital wallets. In fact, Phase 1 uses tools that are perfectly familiar to almost everyone in your community.
Like what? What are we actually handing to a volunteer?
You are handing them PDFs. Just like the compendium itself. You are using QR codes, short audio briefings, standard emails, and simple, low-friction online ordering pages.
So we're talking about things people use every single day to look at a restaurant menu or buy something on Amazon.
Exactly. The upgrade here is not handing them a confusing new piece of technology. The upgrade is the system on the back end.
Wait, explain that. Because if I'm just using a QR code and an email, where's the Web3 part? Why call it that if it's just normal tools?
Because of what is happening behind the curtain. Think of Web 1.0 as reading a static web page.
Right.
Web 2.0 was interacting social media, centralized platforms like Facebook, or traditional fundraising software where a big tech company sits in the middle, controls the data, and takes a massive cut of the transaction.
Okay.
Web 3 is about decentralized ownership and automated value routing.
So how does that apply to the PTA selling something?
Well, in a traditional Web 2.0 system, if a supporter buys a product to support the PTA, the money goes to a central payment processor, then to the vendor, and then eventually the vendor cuts a check to the PTA 30 or 60 days later. It's slow, it lacks transparency, and middlemen take huge fees. In a Web 3-inspired backend system, when a supporter scans that familiar QR code and makes a purchase, automated protocols, often using smart contract logic, can instantly and transparently split that payment.
Oh, wow.
The vendor gets their share, and the PTA gets their share immediately. There is no middleman holding the funds. The interface is familiar, but the engine is a fundamentally new way of routing value directly to the mission.
That makes so much sense. It's like driving a car. I don't need to know how the fuel injection system works on the engine. I just need to know how to turn the steering wheel.
Exactly.
The steering wheel is the QR code. The engine is the automated value routing.
Yes. You get the efficiency and transparency of the new technology without the friction of having to teach it to your volunteers. It creates digital continuity. And this leads us to a massive relief.
Yes, because A huge fear when you bring up digital systems is that some tech consultant is going to come in and say, cancel the annual gala, stop the bake sale, kill off the spaghetti dinner.
Right.
And people actually love those traditions. They're part of the cultural fabric of a small town.
And they should absolutely keep doing them. The goal of the compendium is not to destroy community events. Hybrid fundraising builds a bridge between those powerful physical moments and long-term digital continuity.
Give me a concrete example of how that bridge works.
Let's go back to the gala. You have this incredible physical moment. The room is full of energy. The speeches from the organization's leaders are moving. People are feeling generous and connected.
It's a great vibe.
But in the old traditional model, the dinner ends, the room empties, and all that emotional energy instantly dissipates. The campaign resets.
The balloon pops.
Yes. But in a hybrid model, we capture that energy and extend its lifespan. There is a beautifully designed QR code on every table or on the back of the program.
Okay.
And that QR code doesn't just go to a generic donate here homepage. It leads to a specific short audio briefing explaining a long-term goal, or it leads directly to a recurring commerce pathway.
So the physical event acts as the catalyst to capture attention, but the digital layer keeps the pathway open indefinitely.
Exactly. And more importantly, it protects and scales your volunteers' efforts. Because that QR code or the digital link behind it can travel geographically and temporally far beyond the walls of that banquet hall.
Right. A parent at the gala can text that link to a grandparent living 3 states away, or a local business owner who wanted to support the school but had a scheduling conflict and couldn't attend the dinner can still scan the code from a PDF flyer the next morning.
It perfectly aligns with how modern consumers already live. The compendium notes a crucial data point. 76% of U.S. adults buy things online using a smartphone.
76%.
We are already deeply conditioned to scan codes, order products, and share links with our networks. The friction for that behavior is practically zero. We just haven't been harnessing that low-friction, everyday behavior to fund our community missions.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what you are really doing is transitioning the organization from relying entirely on a one-time physical extraction of funds, where we shake everyone upside down by their ankles once a year, to creating a continuous digital circulation of value.
That is the perfect transition into one of the most profound paradigm shifts in Dr. Phillips' work, moving the organization's mindset from the funnel to the vortex.
Let's dive deep into this, because anyone who has ever been in marketing, sales, or modern fundraising knows the concept of the funnel. It is the dominant visual metaphor of the last 20 years.
It really is.
It's wide at the top. You pour in a massive amount of awareness. Maybe 1,000 people see a Facebook ad. Then it narrows down as you lose people who aren't interested. In the middle, 100 people click the link. At the very bottom, maybe 10 people make a single transaction or donation. And then they drop out. The funnel empties.
The funnel is a highly effective model for one-time transactional sales, but it is fundamentally terrible for community building.
Why is that?
Because the architecture of a funnel assumes the relationship ends at the transaction. The person drops out the bottom, and the organization has to go back to the top and pour more expensive awareness in to get the next dollar.
You are constantly hunting for new people just to stay afloat. It's exhausting. So how does the compendium contrast this with the vortex?
Well, a vortex is an entirely different physical dynamic. A vortex is an organized circulation of value, swirling around a center of gravity. In this case, the center of gravity is the mission itself.
I love this imagery. Instead of people falling out the bottom and disappearing, they are pulled into an ongoing orbit.
And because it's a vortex, there are multiple simultaneous entry points. Someone might enter the outer ring of the vortex by scanning a QR code at a high school football game. Someone else might enter because a friend forwarded them a PDF case study about the organization. Someone else might click a shared link on a social media post.
So they're all coming in from different places.
All of these diverse entry points are feeding energy and value toward the mission center at the same time, continuously, without the organization having to start over and build a new funnel every single month.
Okay, I conceptually love the vortex. But here is my pushback. What actually keeps them in the vortex? Gravity in space works because of mass, but in fundraising, why don't people just leave orbit? Why do they keep contributing month after month?
This is where we introduce the engine that powers the vortex value for value economics. This is the core mechanism that replaces the burnout.
How does it work?
In traditional fundraising, you are asking a supporter for a sacrifice. You are saying, please write us a check. When they write that check, they simply have less money in their bank account. It is a one-way transfer of wealth. In a value-for-value model, you do not ask for a sacrifice. Instead, you offer them an opportunity to redirect spending they were already going to make toward a cause they care about in exchange for real value.
Wait, isn't this just affiliate marketing? Like when a podcaster says, use promo code DEEPDIVE for 10% off a mattress and the podcaster gets a kickback.
Yeah.
How is this a paradigm shift for a church or a school?
It's a great question, but it's vastly different from standard affiliate marketing. Affiliate marketing is a mercenary, one-time transaction built entirely on a promo code, where the primary relationship is still between the consumer and a massive, centralized corporation.
Okay.
The Web3 value-for-value model is about building a shared ecosystem. Let's look at the pure coffee company example mentioned in the text.
And just to be clear to the listener, this is just one brief, specific example to illustrate the mechanics. The program is not about turning your PTA into a coffee shop. It's about the underlying model.
Exactly. Let's say a supporter in your community already buys premium coffee every month. They're going to spend that $50 regardless of what your organization does. It is locked into their household budget.
Right. They need their morning coffee.
Under the value-for-value model, they switch to a Web3 commerce pathway to buy their coffee. They still get incredibly high-quality coffee delivered to their door. That is the real value to them.
Okay.
But because of that automated back-end routing we talked about earlier, the mission gets a meaningful, recurring share of that purchase every single month.
So nobody sacrificed anything. The supporter didn't lose $50. They just traded it for coffee, which they were going to do anyway. There were no guilt trips. The mission isn't begging for a handout.
Yeah.
And because people drink coffee every single month, the funding recurs automatically.
It fundamentally changes the psychology of the supporter. You aren't asking for charity. You are offering an equitable exchange. And this is vital because it aligns perfectly with decades of philanthropic research. The compendium highlights the exhaustive research of Beckers and Wipking, who studied exactly what drives people to give. Supporters do not want to be treated like ATMs. They want three specific things, and traditional fundraising often fails to deliver any of them.
Let's break those three things down. What is number one?
First, value. A real, useful exchange. They want to feel good about the transaction. In our coffee example, the coffee has to actually be excellent. If the product is terrible, it feels like a sacrifice again.
Check. The value is there. What's number two?
Clarity. They want to know exactly where the money goes. The research shows that a massive 67% of donors demand detailed clarity about their impact.
That makes sense.
In a traditional campaign, money goes into a black hole called the general fund, and the supporter never really knows what their $50 did.
Right.
In the Web3 model, the math is entirely transparent.
Yeah.
The supporter knows exactly what portion of their commerce is directly funding the mission's specific goals.
And the third thing?
Connection. They want to feel their action mattered without being hammered by constant manufactured emergency appeal.
Oh, the manufactured emergency. If you don't give $50 by midnight tonight, the community theater program dies. We've all gotten those emails, and they just breed deep resentment over time.
Because they rely on panic rather than partnership. When you replace panic with value, clarity, and connection, something remarkable happens at the macro level within a community. This model actually transforms organizations from being competitors into being collaborators.
This is a huge point. Because right now, the high school marching band, the youth football team, the local animal shelter, and the community church are all essentially fighting in a cage match for the exact same $100 in my wallet.
Exactly. Traditional fundraising is built on a scarcity mindset. It assumes a fixed pie. If you give $50 to the band, the football team loses out. But in a value-for-value ecosystem, these organizations can actually share pathways.
How does that work in practice?
Imagine a local business owner who wants to support the community. Instead of being asked to sponsor a single golf hole at a single tournament for one group, they can enter the vortex. They can offer a value-for-value product or service through these digital pathways that benefits multiple groups simultaneously.
That's amazing.
Or the band and the football team can co-promote a single recurring commerce pathway, and the back-end system transparently splits the proceeds based on which supporters selected which cause. They stop fighting for a slice of a shrinking pie, and they start collaborating to expand the pie through shared everyday commerce.
Okay, I am incredibly fired up. I conceptually understand the structural failure, I understand the vortex, and I love the value-for-value model.
It's powerful.
But I am picturing the listener right now sitting in their car thinking, this is great, but how on earth do I actually get my stubborn committee to agree to this? How do I change the way my organization operates without starting a civil war in the cafeteria?
That is the ultimate practical challenge, and it brings us to the most tactical part of the compendium, the perfect fundraiser framework and the evolution of Dr. Phillips' incredibly successful resource, 17 Ways to Uncrazy Your Booster Talks.
The perfect business lens. I really like this framing. We are finally treating the community fundraiser with the rigorous respect of a real enterprise, rather than a cute hobby.
If you want professional, sustainable results, you have to apply professional, sustainable standards. Dr. Phillips argues that a perfect fundraiser must meet specific criteria.
Okay, let's hear them.
It must be ethical, it must be scalable beyond the people physically sitting in the room, it must be incredibly low friction for the buyer, it must be teachable to the next generation of incoming volunteers so the knowledge doesn't leave when the current president's kid graduates.
That's a big one.
And it absolutely must create recurring value.
And crucially, it has to respect the true cost of volunteer time. We touched on this earlier, but the compendium cites a figure that I think every organization needs to print out and tape to their wall.
It's a vital number.
The estimated quantified value of a single volunteer hour is $36.14.
If we connect this back to the bigger picture, every single hour a volunteer spends managing a chaotic spreadsheet for a bake sale or organizing the delivery logistics of hundreds of tubs of frozen cookie dough or arguing with a vendor about tablecloths is an hour stolen directly from the actual mission. It's an hour they aren't coaching the kids, it's an hour they aren't mentoring the youth group, or frankly, it's an hour they aren't resting with their own families so they don't burn out.
If a traditional fundraiser takes 100 cumulative volunteer hours to plan and execute, and it only nets $1,000, you did not make money. You spent $3,600 of community capacity to gain $1,000 in cash. You ran a massive deficit.
Exactly. So to stop running that deficit, you have to change the conversations happening at the committee level. The compendium provides these incredibly powerful conversational reframes to use at your next meeting.
Let's banter through a few of the most powerful ones. Put me in this scenario. I'm sitting down at the big folding table in the school cafeteria. Someone bangs a gavel and says, "Okay, it's August. Time to pick which wrapping paper catalog we are going to force the kids to sell this year." What do I say?
Reframe number one. Start with the need, not the fundraiser.
Right. So instead of letting the conversation start with what are we selling, you interrupt and say, hold on, let's define the problem first. We have a recurring cash flow deficit of $2,000 a month for the travel budget. We need to build a system that solves that specific math problem.
Yes. It completely changes the mindset from product peddling to problem solving.
What's the next reframe?
Here's a second, critical reframe. It touches on human psychology. Replace mass broadcasts with specific, defined invitations.
Oh, this happens constantly. The desperate mass email from the organizer. We urgently need help with the festival. Anyone, please. And the result is crickets. Nobody replies.
Because of the diffusion of responsibility, the bystander effect. If you send an email to 50 people asking for help, every single person assumes one of the other 49 people will do it.
So how do we reframe the ask?
Instead of the mass broadcast, you define a hyper-specific 20-minute role, and you ask one specific person. You go to David and you say, "David, I need you to take this specific QR code flyer, hand it to 5 local business owners you know, and just let me know what questions they ask. That is the entire job. It will take 20 minutes.
It's manageable. It has boundaries. It's not a lifetime sentence to the dreaded fundraising committee. David knows exactly what success looks like, and he knows he can achieve it.
Exactly.
Okay, here's another great reframe from the text. Move from pressure to choice.
This goes back to the core of the value for value model. We have all experienced the social coercion of traditional models. The neighbor's kid knocks on your door selling a $25 tub of popcorn.
You are buying relief from social pressure, not a product.
Yes. And that breeds resentment. The reframe is to offer a genuine value for value pathway. Hey, if you happen to buy coffee or if you need this service, using this link helps the team. If not, no worries at all.
So easy.
You let them choose to participate because it actually benefits them. It removes the friction and the guilt.
And this leads perfectly to my absolute favorite reframe in the entire compendium. Measure the right win.
This might be the single most important strategic shift an organization can make.
Right now, we only ask one question at the end of a fundraiser as we are cleaning up the folding tables. Did we hit the financial goal? If the goal was $5,000 and we made $5,000, we declare total victory. But the reframe is to ask a fundamentally different question. Did this campaign create a reusable asset?
Right. Did we build a new permission-based email list of supporters? Do we have a QR code pathway that continues to generate revenue tomorrow, next week, and next month without us having to staff a table? Did we establish a recurring commerce relationship?
If the answer is no, then you just ran on a treadmill. You sweat a lot, you burned a lot of calories, but you didn't actually travel anywhere. You are going to wake up tomorrow in the exact same precarious financial position.
Which is why leaders must enforce the discipline of asking strategy questions before they ever allow the committee to ask execution questions.
Break that down. What's the difference?
Most committees jump straight into execution out of habit. Who is going to run the check-in table? Who is picking up the ice? What color should the flyers be? They completely skip the strategy question, which is, does this proposed event actually build legacy cash flow, or is it just providing temporary one-time relief?
If it's just one-time relief, you need to stop talking about the ice and the flyers. You need to fundamentally redesign the system before you worry about execution.
Exactly. You have to be willing to disrupt the comfortable routine of exhaustion to build something that actually lasts.
It is a complete paradigm shift. Okay, we have covered an immense amount of ground today. Let's do a comprehensive recap of the journey we've just taken, because I want this to really stick with the listener.
We started by looking at the reality of the landscape. We recognize that fundraising is structurally broken right now. The mechanical environment changed, taxes changed, competition exploded, attention fractured, and the old models rely far too heavily on broadening out the faithful few to compensate for those structural failures.
We saw the harsh mathematical reality that one-time campaigns only create temporary relief. They mask the massive hidden costs of volunteer labor, and the traditional answer, a multi-million-dollar endowment, is statistically impossible for most local organizations.
But the incredibly good news is that we don't have to throw away our beloved community traditions to fix this. We can use hybrid models. We can use the familiar, everyday tools of Phase 1 Web3 systems, QR codes, PDFs, audio briefings, to build a bridge between physical events and digital continuity.
We can transition from a leaky, exhausting funnel to a powerful compounding vortex. We can generate that elusive recurring mission cash flow through value-for-value commerce, where nobody is pressured, nobody's sacrificing, and everybody wins.
We stop extracting from our supporters, and we finally start collaborating with them in a shared ecosystem.
Exactly. So, to you, the listener, whether you are the exhausted treasurer trying to make the math work late at night, the visionary leader trying to protect your volunteers, or the entrepreneur looking to make a meaningful difference while building your own path, it is time to stop the burnout. It is time to build reliable legacy support for the causes you love. Here is your direct call to action. Take the very next step today. Go to web3fundraising.com. Download and read the free PDF version of The Science and Business of Fundraising. Take it, print it out, and share it with the most tired, burned-out volunteer you know. I promise you, it will feel like a lifeline to them. And then, once you understand the model, request access to the protected playbook to explore the actual implementation pathways and start building your vortex.
I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over as you go about your day. We've spent this time talking about mechanics, cash flow, strategy, and structural failures. But take a moment to think about the human impact at the end of all this. What would your local community actually look like if the organizations that hold it together, the schools, the youth groups, the local ministries, the animal shelters, the veterans halls, never had to ask for a charitable handout ever again?
I imagine that.
What if they were fully, quietly, and abundantly funded automatically by the everyday value-for-value commerce that is already happening in your town? What could those brilliant, dedicated volunteers accomplish if they were finally freed from the crushing burden of running one more bake sale?
Imagine the pure creative energy they could pour directly into the mission itself. They wouldn't just survive, they would change the world. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep asking better strategy questions, keep protecting your volunteers, and let's go build something sustainable. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to Health Freedom Radio with Jessica Steele and Jordan Fisher. We're glad you joined us, and we hope you enjoyed today's show. We'll leave you with this. Your future is yours to own, and we're here to run with you every step of the way. Let's build it together. Subscribe, stay connected, and share this with someone who's ready to level up their life.